course, I said Joe Cantaveras because I'm like a flipping Jorge Cervantes. I kept meaning to come back and say it correctly. Kelly sucks. Alright. So, my first story is going to be an annoying one, but don't worry. We need an annoying one because we have to make fun of people. So it's time to make fun of people. Things are moving so great in California towards legalization. And Sacramento is, finalizing how they're going to set up their market for after November. So there's a lot of places in California that are actually moving forward in a very adult way towards, setting up their regulatory market. Others are not behaving in such an adult way. Many are in a sort of panic mode of pearl clutching, which is really kind of humorous to look at on the internet and read about, because I can just imagine what these people are like. Oh my goodness. And what actually I see is happening is that many of the conservative communities in California have been set up to not do well in legalization. They will not make money in this. Airplane. Oh, it's a red baron. Or Snoopy. It's one of the Snoopy. This is one of these communities I'm going to read to you about right now, which is Fillmore. Fillmore has decided to extend their ban until after November and see what happens. Wherein, after November, you will see them screaming and tripping and falling over themselves to go, oh my God, we can't make the pain stop. We didn't regulate, just like Ventura. We didn't regulate, we didn't prepare, and now it's everywhere. So let's take a look at this breaking story out of Fillmore. Good news for the gray market here in Ventura County. Fillmore has extended its marijuana ban until after its November election. So you will still be able to make your money hand over fist without being regulated in any way in Ventura County. Congratulations to the gray market. You win. Fillmore City Council voted unanimously to extend its ban on medical marijuana delivery, dispensaries, and cultivation until after November 8th election, when California voters will decide whether to legalize recreational marijuana. The state already allows the sale of marijuana with a doctor's recommendation to treat a number of illnesses. But the Adult Use of Marijuana Act would not only legalize marijuana, it would also impose a sale and cultivation tax. At the urging of Councilman Douglas Tucker, the Fillmore Council also asked city employees to look into how the election could affect the city legally and prepare options for the council to consider. We want to be sure we have something in place if Proposition 64 passes. We want to be proactive. Well, this doesn't sound very proactive, but stupid is as stupid does. So please do take your sweet ass time, because probably the day after the election, it will be legal to own up to an ounce of marijuana in your community. And that marijuana will not come from retail stores. Not until you get up off your lazy ass and do something about it. So the gray market wins again. About 100 people crowded into the council chambers, with some taking seats in an overflow area in the Fillmore City Hall, most of whom expressed support for the medical marijuana ban. About 2/3 of the crowd stood in unison before Fillmore Unified School District Superintendent Adrian Palazuelos read a resolution adopted by the school district's government board asking for a ban because it is harmful to the development of the adolescent, among many other reasons. Also, remember that schools do receive some drug war money for enforcing drug war laws with their students. Ben Kalika decried the ban as an extension of the failed drug policy of 1971 that has cost the county hundreds of billions of dollars and don't have any personal issues that require the use of medical marijuana. But if I did, I would use it. Yeah, well, you can't fix stupid, honey. You have to understand. You can't fix the stupid that exists here in Ventura County. It's the way it is. It's why we're certainly considering moving to some place that's much more interested in being successful. Fatima Bazotto is in support of the ban. We do not want the substance in our backyards. People can steal it, and it's too close to innocent kids who could make the wrong decision. Please don't bring the substance into this town, she said to Applause. Well, she's a stupid fucking idiot because that substance will be in her town and it will be unregulated, and there will be dealers who do not have to take ID from children selling it to your children. So once again, the geniuses here in Ventura County are feeding your children to the drug black market because they just can't figure it out. Why are they in charge? I'm sorry. Why are these adults in charge of anything? They say when you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, that's a sign of insanity. But here we are. Round and round the stupidity goes. Let's all enjoy the freak show. Fillmore Mayor Diane McCall repeatedly asked the anti-medical marijuana proponents to stop clapping and cheering. City Attorney Tiffany Israel explained that most city bans ban clapping or other displays of at the meeting after members of the crowd shouted that they were participating or practicing their right to free speech. This is a business meeting of the council, she said, explaining that clapping and other displays slowed the process of the meeting. Cheering and clapping is intimidating to people who might want to speak on the other side. It's really not fair, Councilman Nick Neal said. After hearing from about 20 people, the council addressed the issue that has become a hot topic in Fillmore, especially in light of the July 29th raid on a marijuana grow operation on Grand Avenue, just outside Fillmore city limits, where there still has not been charges levied, I believe. The council has already placed a measure on the November ballot that would levy a 15% sales tax in addition to taxes imposed by the state to marijuana. But Fillmore and many cities in Ventura County that ban marijuana will not enjoy those sales taxes because if you do not regulate in your community, you cannot gather marijuana taxes for your city. Therefore, you will be using your personal sales tax to fight the war on drugs all by your onesies. Congratulations, morons. They're going to blow more of your tax money. You're so intelligent. I like watching you flounder. The city currently has a total ban on delivery and cultivation of marijuana, and yet delivery and cultivation still takes place all over Ventura County. The council has already placed a measure on the November ballot that would levy a 15% tax in addition to taxes imposed on the state to marijuana. The city currently has a total ban on delivery and cultivation. Neal asked whether, I read that twice, professional delivery of medical marijuana would be safer than having it delivered by people with guns. Reason, once again. These people in Ventura County that are our leaders are not familiar with reason. You must speak their language. Here, let me teach you their tongue. Derp, 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 derp. Are you there? Derp, George, derp. That's how you speak their language. I have a slight accent in mine. I apologize. Councilwoman Carrie Brogy replied, I don't know if having a delivery service would stop bad guys. That element would still be there. She lives in a fantasy world. I'm just going to say things without proof. I'm a leader. McCall said that allowing the delivery and cultivation of medical marijuana would strain already thinly stretched public safety resources. Does this moron not understand that you would receive taxes? And those taxes would help you to regulate and pump money into schools and law enforcement, as has been done in Colorado. Or are you a moron and don't have the internet where you live? By adding a layer of additional oversight, we may be exacerbating our problem, she said. I see the real human side of it's a thing to be considered, but I have concerns about opening the store. We would be enabling our youth to have more access to marijuana. More lies by morons. I can't wait until the day after the election, when all of these imbeciles realize that marijuana is now legal where they live, and suddenly there will be illegal dealers on the street everywhere dealing to their children, and I will laugh and point and say, this is your fault because you did not regulate. You are a dipshit. Why are you in charge again? I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. Why are you in charge? She said the council will, by adding, she added, okay, a layer of additional oversight, blah, 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 but I have concerns about opening this door. Okay, so I did read that. I don't really care what stupid people have to say. She said the council will revisit the issue of marijuana after November election, tripping and falling over themselves and babbling, we can't make it stop. It's coming from oh my God! It's everyone! Make it stop! My children! Yeah, you'll be revisiting it in November, all right, lady, with tears in your eyes. Earlier in the meeting, the council heard from Police Chief Dave Warham, who said the crime statistics reported from the first half of 2016 was on pace to be lower than those reported in 2014, when the city was named the 17th safest city in California. The rate so far for 2016 is 4,063, 4.683, excuse me, I can't read that, crimes per 1,000 people compared with 4.96. What is this guy talking about? Because I read all the time about stuff going on in Fillmore. Okay, like you're talking to somebody that doesn't live here apparently in Ventura County. Okay, so whatever you think's going on there, pal. That's our benchmark to be on that list. I wonder how you got there, Mr. Warham, because that number sounds super skewed. I'm sorry. Fillmore's not known for being like a place of, people with like money or people that don't have some sort of problems with the law. Not here in Ventura City proper. We look down on Fillmore. Despite concerns, Sacramento's pot growing plan inches forward. Sacramento Bee. The capital city is ready to become a cannabis production center under a plan advised Tuesday by the City Council Committee. The Council's Law and Legalization Committee moved forward with its conceptual plan to allow indoor cultivation of marijuana in commercial, industrial, and agricultural zones in Sacramento, with the possibility of granting conditional use permits for limited facility operations just outside residential areas. The city's push towards marijuana industrialization is expected to culminate in a plan to be voted on by the City Council in November, with facilities to be given operating licenses next year. The effort, which would generate new tax revenue, is accelerating after city officials recently announced the Sacramento's 30th medical marijuana dispensary produced a record $4 million in city tax revenue during the 2015-2016 fiscal year. The revenue from a 4% local medical marijuana tax has served to underscore the potential economic clout of cannabis businesses in Sacramento, a city long politically supportive of medical marijuana. The city is surrounded by local governments, including Sacramento's County, that bans marijuana businesses, and its dispensary sales have taken off as numerous pot stores reopened since federal forfeiture notice forced many to close in 2011 and 2012. Now, the federal authorities backing off and enforcement in state permitting marijuana use, and California votes to consider legalizing pot as a recreational drug in November. Sacramento is weighing decisions on how far it wants to go into the legal pot business, and Tuesday's committee session revealed intense concerns among community groups over how close marijuana businesses might be to neighborhoods. Law and Legislation panel moved forward recommendations by the city's planning commission to allow pot cultivation sites within 300 feet of neighborhoods, with strict rules and condition use permit program giving residents input on such operations. Previously, City Council members Alan Warren and Eric Guerrera complained that industrial areas in their northern and eastern Sacramento district, respectively, would receive the bulk of the grow room. The Planning Commission recommended allowing the facilities closer to neighborhoods to more evenly space them throughout the city. But that notion didn't sit well with Keith Answiskolf, a Higglewood Community Association in North Sacramento. She urged the city to keep such facilities far from homes, and also called for a cap on the number of cultivation sites in the city, I assume while clutching her pearls. We're the neighborhoods. We're the neighborhoods. We're going to live with this, Auntie Zagraski said, told the committee. City Hall is not going to be next to this. The neighborhoods will be. Oh, my goodness sakes. The children. Clutch your pearls, everyone. Brad Wason, Sacramento's revenue manager, said the city anticipates another $2 million in revenue from a 4% business tax from commercial marijuana cultivation facilities expected in the to be licensed in Sacramento by next year. But the revenue figures could be bigger, depending on how many grow facilities and what scale the city ultimately approves. Wasson said the city is looking to persuade traditional reclusive marijuana producers to operate transparent, licensed cultivation businesses. The city is seeking detailed security plans, including video surveillance, criminal background checks on employees, odor control systems, efficient energy and water use requirements, and strict rules on shipping marijuana and handling cash. I would like to try to figure out how much medical marijuana Sacramento people need. And we will be able to support that with grow sites, Wasson said. It's hard to get real information about what we need. They're still very nervous about their grow sites. For years, they've been busted for growing marijuana. There is little trust. There is a little trust issue we've got to get to. Yes, with little Miss, Mary Miss Worriesomes over here complaining that our children is too close to our neighborhoods. I'm afraid that that kind of person, like in Fillmore or here in this article, is going to turn into somebody that's going to burn witches. Because frankly, that's exactly how witch trials started, was with naggy, upset, fearful, I hate to say it, but, sort of prohibitionists. They didn't like the way somebody looked, or they didn't like the way somebody lived. They'd accuse you of being a witch. They would burn you at the stake. If they could get you to admit to being a witch, they could take all of your property from your family. So it became a money grab. When I hear about pearl clutchers like this, it makes me nervous. It makes me think about those witch trials. Wasson said 180 individuals already cultivating within city limits have registered with officials in hopes of getting operating permits. He said many are in residential zones where no commercial grow is allowed and would have to move under a proposed rule. A total of 600 potential applicants have contacted the city about commercial cultivation, he said. City staff members who said they are seeking to allow at least enough cultivation to supply local dispensaries haven't recommended a cap on total marijuana production, but have floated the idea as an option for the city council under plans discussed by the Law and Legalization Committee. The city could approve commercial growing permits for up to 22,000 square feet of indoor cultivation space to applicants who meet the city's criteria. I think we can have a model ordinance be a model city on cultivation, manufacturing, and dispensing marijuana in a manner that offers a balance between the industry and community needs and creates a revenue stream for the city at the same time. And city council members say, Jay Schreiner, the fact is, it's legal and it's here, so let's do it right. Schreiner championed Measure Y, a June ballot initiative that would have imposed a special 5% city tax on marijuana cultivation revenue and directed revenue to a specific fund dedicated to programs and services for children. It fell just short of the required two-thirds vote for passage. Schneier said he will push a less formal proposal before the city council later this year to direct standard business taxes from cultivation, which don't require voter approval from youth programs. Wasson said the city expects to follow the cultivation ordinance with other regulations for marijuana delivery services, with drivers working only for local dispensaries, and the cannabis product manufacturing, including permits for producing the marijuana food and concentrates. Lynette Davis, whose Canacare dispensary in North Sacramento is seeking a permit for a cultivation facility, she said, expecting considerable debate on the city's plans before a final proposal reaches the council. I think you'll see a lot of change. I am not sure what, she said. I'm pleased with it so far. Sacramento is taking a leadership position in showing the rest of California how well we can do things. And as to the concerns of people saying that it would bring crime and so forth like that, well, if things are normalized, it brings less crime, Demi. But you can't help people who are stupid. You can't do anything without stupid. Okay, but as to that, here is a story where because the police and dispensaries work together, they actually were able to there's a law in this place that says that the owners have to watch on security camera as the store employees close the shop. And he was watching on security camera and saw these robbers suddenly push down the door that this girl was locking and come in and rob it. He called the police waited outside, the robbers came outside, and they just caught him like in a big net, like it's supposed to be, without a gunfight, hostages, and all that kind of nonsense. It's amazing how nice the world works when there's regulation instead of a free-for-all of prohibition. But you couldn't tell places like Fillmore and Ventura that. What can you do? They're not very intelligent. But here's this story about this robbery and how it was foiled by the marijuana shop owner and the police in just the most brilliant way. And they had guns and everything, and masks. It was a very scary situation, and boom, they popped them. It was clean and beautiful.
Well, because a manager was watching this robbery in progress live from his home, he was able to call 911. And as those robbers made their way out into the street, they were arrested right away into the arms of police. And employees say this was terrifying to have this happen. Everyone is uninjured. They're okay. The shop manager credits police with a fast response when they surrounded the shop during the robbery because he was able to call 911 so fast. Take a look at that video again, new from overnight, showing a woman closing up the shop and getting ready to walk out the back door when she's greeted by two men with guns, and another employee is the third there doing some sort of security sweep. Those men barge in, force her to the ground with another employee, zip tie them during the robbery. But after a few minutes of gathering cash and product, those men turn to leave, but police are waiting outside, all because of that safety protocol in place requiring managers to closely watch closed-circuit TV during closing time.
I felt sick. I mean, I know them personally. I'll be honest, you feel parental, a little bit. I wanted to leave and get in my car and come down here, and police convinced me I was more helpful by conveying information.
We prepare for it, but as long as this is a cash business and marijuana is not declassified, we're always going to have this issue.
We also talked to the owner who has several shops like these. He believes crime will continue to happen as long as store owners are forced to work with cash only because marijuana is still considered illegal in the eyes of the federal government. He also tells us that this exact shop, Have a Heart in Greenwood, was burglarized 2 weeks ago. In that case, crooks were able to get away with some product, but not last night. In Greenwood, Jake Wittenberg, King 5 News.
Now, for my very last story I have is the grasping at straws. Okay, I'm going to say it this way, and I say it at the top of this story I read this saying, and it said that a drowning man will grasp at straws on the shore bank. Okay, a drowning man will grasp at straws. That's where the straw grasping comes from. Okay, so here is the proponents or the people that are against legalization in California doing their straw grasping, where they're trying to say this thing about how it would create television ads, which is against federal law, so no, it would not create television and radio ads. And it hasn't in any of the states that it's been legalized, even though they say it has. No, it hasn't. And the second thing is, they say that it will be available to children if it can be delivered to a house. And it's like, no, it can't. But okay, there's some truth in this. This is a cute thing, but it's going to get shot down. So that hearing for their lawsuit, because they're suing basically state and saying that they want something rewritten, right? Like how we said, no, you're lying about this. It does not say that. They're saying, no, you're lying about this. So now it's going to go to court, and both cases are going to garner a lot of attention. And when the judge says, no, basically the guys that are against legalization are pretty much blowing this out of proportion and these things don't really exist, then all of California will see a lawsuit that is saying that the proponents are lying and stretching the truth in order to win. And then I'll just bring up how WikiLeaks proved that DNC is being encouraged by alcohol companies to push this particular line of argument along with the drug driving issue. Interesting that, alcohol companies would be so concerned about you driving under the influence of marijuana. That's kind of the same deal as when cigarette companies want vaporizers regulated because they're not regulated and they're in direct competition with cigarettes. So cigarette companies are very upset that so many people are turning to vaporizers and saving their lives. And so they start talking about how dangerous vaporizers are. And you start seeing this in the schools and coming out as talking points because that's money. That's the way cash money comes out of people's mouths. So you hear Dianne Feinstein saying, oh, there's going to be ads on TV. That's alcohol money coming out of her mouth. Alcohol money. They say that a drowning man will grasp at straws on the bank of the shore. Anti-legalizers sue California over Prop 64 ballot language. Legalization Nation. EastBayExpress.com. Countdown to legalization day 89. Time for some legalization lawsuit tit for tats, folks. Supporters of cannabis prohibition sued the California Secretary of State on August 4th, alleging voters could be misled by legalization initiative Proposition 64. The ballot argument for and against the Adult Use of Marijuana Act will go to the courts this week. No on 64 alleges that yes on Prop 64's ballot arguments are false and misleading for two reasons. Number one, TV advertisements, and number two, pot delivery services. When voters get their sample ballots, Prop 64's arguments in favor state that nothing in 64 makes it legal to show marijuana ads on TV. Federal law prohibits it. The Prop 64 argument also states that sales of non-medical marijuana will be legal only at highly regulated licensed marijuana businesses, and only adults 21 and older will be permitted to enter. But opponents for the measure, which allows adults 21 and over to carry 1 ounce of in public and grow 6 plants at home, are saying those statements are false. The first statement is false and misleading because the initiative specifically contemplates TV advertising. In fact, although Prop 64 includes an exhaustive list of advertising prohibitions, it does not include television broadcast. In addition, the measure even spells out exactly how the television piece would work. Any advertising or marketing placed on broadcast, cable, radio, print, and digital communication shall only be displayed where at least 71.6% of the audience is reasonably expected to be 21 years of age or older, as determined by reliable, up-to-date audience composition data. No on 64 says the second statement about where legal sales can occur is false and misleading because Prop 64 does much more than allow sales of marijuana in brick and mortar retail stores. Proposition 64 also authorizes sale by delivery service. But on its face, both of no on 64's lawsuit claims seem to lack merit. The argument, the first, let's see, regarding the first Prop 64 cannot make it legal to show pot ads on radio or TV, which are federally controlled. If the feds suddenly legalize pot, Proposition 64 actually protects consumers by saying where the ads could run. In other words, if the government suddenly legalized marijuana, the provisions in Prop 64 would protect your kids because suddenly it wouldn't be all over the television, where maybe other states didn't include that. The second disputed claim is factually accurate. Okay, sales of non-medical marijuana will be legal only at highly regulated licensed marijuana businesses. It in no way implies those businesses are only brick and mortar in an area where Americans get literally everything delivered. In an era, excuse me. Here is a link to the No on Prop 64 lawsuit earlier this week. Yes on Prop 64 started the legal challenges by filing suit alleging No on 64 was making false and misleading arguments on the ballot. That lawsuit has much more merit. Led by Senator Dianne Feinstein, the No on Prop 64 ballot arguments state that the law will expose children to ads promoting marijuana gummy, candy, and blah, blah, blah. In reality, Prop 64 prohibits pot production designed to be appealing to children or easily confused with commercially sold candies and foods. The law states Prop 64 has 4 explicit separate child protection provisions. It is provably false to suggest children will in any way be exposed to advertisements promoting marijuana gummy candies or brownies, Prop 64 states. No on 64's lawsuit goes to a hearing on Friday at 11 a.m. in Superior Court in Sacramento, and will probably be dashed out of court as being foolish and ridiculous. They know where their bread's buttered. Alright, so that's my show. And I will see you tomorrow for another one. Hopefully some more news. It's going to be interesting. There's going to be this lawsuit. And it's interesting that we're just barreling ahead so successfully here. And there's really nothing on the horizon that I see as being taken seriously. Even that story about whatever happened with however 19 people got a hold of edibles, that must have cost a fortune to be able to get 19 people high on edibles. That would have cost a fortune. So however that happened, it makes me very suspicious it was done on purpose, you know, maybe as a prank or maybe to get in the news so that it made it look like this terrible thing happened when actually it's a crime of a different type. Okay, now here at the end I'm going to recommend something to you guys. If you are on Hulu and sign up to Hulu, check out this Jeeves and Wooster show. It is really fucking funny. We started watching it and now we're in season 4 and I'm starting to have like shower thoughts. Like I want Doctor Who to take me back in time so I can go get Jeeves and he can help us with Donald Trump. Because man, do I need that guy's help at this time. So you should definitely check out Jeeves and Wooster. It's really good. It has the guy from House, and the other guy is that plays. I mean, I don't know their names. Shame on me. Yeah. But anyway, the other guy, he plays Sherlock Holmes' brother, Mycroft, in the Sherlock Holmes version. That's the American version, which is one of the worst versions. PBS one, in my opinion, was the best. But I love the one with Jeremy Brett. That is my favorite Sherlock Holmes.
if you think about the way that people actually talk about politics, at least the way that people back home talk about politics, you know, it's around the kitchen table, it's at a bar, people are off the cuff, they're not afraid to offend someone. At the end of the day, that's how Donald Trump talks about politics. So yes, he is a billionaire, yes, he inherited a lot of money, but he talks about politics in a way that's very relatable. If you think about the way, let's say, that Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton talk about things, they're very filtered, they're very neutral, they are almost very afraid of saying anything that offends someone, and that's just not the way that people back home talk. And I think there's almost a fear that to be part of the political conversation, you have to be like Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama, these very well-educated elite people. But Donald Trump is relatable. You know, I think people on the coasts often see somebody who's offensive, and I think rightfully so. But people back where I'm from see somebody who talks and thinks like they do.
J.D. Vance,